Marsau Scott has once again found himself in the middle of social media drama, and this time, it's not about the businesses, the trips, or the show. It's about what he said concerning women, marriage, and jealousy inside relationships. Now, we all know Marsau has always been a man with opinions, strong ones at that. Whether it's talking about traditional values, gender roles, or just the way he views marriage, he's never shied away from speaking his truth, even if it rubs people the wrong way. But this time, he took it to another level when he said that some wives are jealous of their husbands. That one comment alone had the internet in flames, fingers typing, and people ready to argue all day. And you already know once Marsau says something bold, he's not going to back down. He'll stand 10 toes on it. So, let's go ahead and get into exactly what happened. Marsau had been trying to show that he's turning over a new leaf. He even said he's been working on not giving people this mouth anymore, because if you followed him for a while, you already know that Marsau used to get down in those comments. Anybody who said something slick to him online, he would clap back harder, funnier, and sometimes meaner. He's admitted before that sometimes he got too carried away, but this time he said he's been trying to be better. But the moment he made those comments about wives being jealous of their husbands, it was like all that self-control flew out the window because people were dragging him left and right. And he couldn't resist jumping into the conversation. According to what's been going around, Marsau made some statements that touched a nerve for a lot of people. It all started when Ayesha Curry, wife of NBA star Stephen Curry, did an interview where she talked about her journey of rediscovering herself. She said she was still finding who she is after years of being known as a wife and a mother. She mentioned feeling like she had lost parts of herself because her identity was so tied to her husband and her family. Now, for most people, that's a real and relatable conversation. Many women, and even some men, have felt that at some point. But Marsau decided to jump into that topic and give his take, and that's when things went left. Marsau said that when people complain about losing themselves in marriage or motherhood, it's actually part of the deal. He said that when you decide to be a wife and a mother, there's always going to be sacrifice. In his words, that's what it means. You lose something to the deal. He explained that life is all about give and take. If you want to run the world, you'll lose time with your family. If you want to be a mother, you may lose some career opportunities. If you want to chase money, you might lose sleep or peace. He said you can't have it all, that's just how life works. And honestly, some people might have agreed with that if he had left it there. But Marsau kept going. He added that he finds it hilarious when women talk about how they lost themselves in marriage, as if men are out here pressuring women to get married or to have kids. That's where he lost a lot of people because, let's be real, that statement hit a nerve. Plenty of people, especially women, flooded his comments saying, "Hold on, now. Men absolutely pressure women into marriage. Men absolutely pressure women to have children." They reminded him that on Love and Marriage, Huntsville, he himself told Tisha to stay home when she wanted to go outside and grow her career. They said he was the one talking about traditional roles and how his wife needed to focus on home life while he focused on being the provider. So when Marsau tried to act like men never pressure women, folks called him out for being hypocritical. They said, "Marsau, we saw you do it on TV. You literally told your wife to stay in the house." And that's when things got even more heated. Now, Marsau being Marsau, instead of apologizing or clearing up what he meant, he decided to double down. He said that men understand sacrifice better. He said when men sign up to be providers, they accept that they'll have to give up a lot of things, whether it's time, peace, or even happiness sometimes. But they don't sit around complaining about what they lost. According to him, men just accept the cost and keep pushing. He said that's what being a man is about, taking care of your responsibilities and not whining about it. He said men don't spend years counting how much money they could have had if they didn't have a family, so women shouldn't do the same when it comes to their careers or independence. But of course, that take didn't sit right with a lot of people. Many women said, "Marsau, the reason women feel lost is because society expects us to do everything, take care of the kids, the husband, the house, and still somehow look perfect while doing it. They said it's not just about sacrifice, it's about balance. Women are tired of being told that if they feel unhappy, they're ungrateful or jealous. They're tired of being told to accept their feelings quietly while still giving everything they have to everyone else. And when Marsau agreed with a comment online that said some wives are jealous of their husbands, that's when everything exploded. In the comments under his post, one person said, "I know I'm going to be the bad guy for saying this, but she's jealous of her husband's success and wants a hall pass." That person was referring to Aisha Curry. Marsau replied to that comment and said, "That's it," with 3 exclamation points. So that means he was agreeing that Aisha, and by extension, other wives like her, are jealous of their husband's success. The internet took that and ran with it. People were calling him out left and right, saying, "You mean to tell me that a woman can't talk about her personal growth without being called jealous?" It became a big conversation about how women's feelings are often dismissed. Especially by men who want to act like they've never struggled themselves. Now, some people started bringing up Marsau's own history and struggles, reminding him that he's not immune to having a hard time in marriage either. Folks were saying, "Didn't you go to Africa because you said you needed space to figure things out?" They reminded him of the seasons where he talked about feeling overwhelmed by being a provider and how he needed to take care of himself. They pointed out that he too has struggled to find balance in marriage, work, and fatherhood. So if that's the case, how can he sit there and act like only women struggle to find themselves? And that's the thing, the double standard. People said Marsau's comments were proof of the double standard that exists when it comes to how men and women are allowed to express their emotions. When men feel lost, it's called stress or burnout. When women feel lost, it's called ungratefulness or jealousy. When men take a break to focus on themselves, they're clearing their head. But when women do the same, they're selfish. That's the part that frustrated a lot of people. And to make it worse, Marsau tried to play it off as just being logical. He said, "Men just understand it better." But a lot of women were like, "Understand what better? Losing yourself?" Because from where they're standing, it looks like women lose themselves not because they want to, but because they have to hold everything together while men still get to choose when they want to check out. Marsau later admitted that he had actually drafted a video response to one of his critics, a full petty video. He said it was so good that he thought it was a gift from God. That's how proud he was of it. He said it was so accurate, so perfect, so petty. But he decided to show it to a few friends before posting it. And those friends told him, "Don't send that. You have too much to lose." One of them even told him that posting it could get him sued because it was that harsh. So, Marsau decided to hold off. He said he has friends who hold him accountable, and he doesn't want to mess up what he's got going. Instead, he told his followers, his so-called Mars soldiers, to handle it for him in the comments. He was basically calling on his supporters to go to battle online for him and defend his honor. So while he might not be clapping back directly anymore, he's definitely still in the mix. The funny thing is, this whole situation opened up a deeper conversation about gender dynamics in marriage, especially on social media. Some people said Marsau wasn't entirely wrong about sacrifice. They said he was right that marriage involves giving something up. But others said he completely missed the point because what Aisha Curry was describing wasn't about sacrifice, it was about identity. They said she wasn't complaining about her husband's success. She was talking about how hard it can be to maintain your own sense of self when everyone sees you on only through the lens of being someone's wife or mother. And that's something a lot of women can relate to. People also started pointing out that it's interesting how Marsau has so much to say about women being jealous or ungrateful, but he doesn't use that same energy to talk about men who can't handle when their wives start to shine. They brought up examples, like when men feel threatened because their wives are making more money or getting more attention. There have been countless stories, even on reality TV, where men's egos couldn't handle their wives' success. From Nene Leakes and Greg, to Melody and Martell, we've seen it happen over and over again. But when that happens, people rarely call it jealousy. They call it pride or insecurity. So why is it that when a woman simply wants to feel like herself again, she's called jealous? It's also wild that Marsau chose this hill to die on because, truth be told, he's had his fair share of public issues. Fans of Love and Marriage, Huntsville remember the earlier seasons when Marsau would make little jokes about Tisha staying home, about her being too emotional, or about how he wanted her to focus on the kids. Many felt like those comments came from a place of control. And for him to now say that women shouldn't complain when they feel trapped or unfulfilled. That hit a nerve for fans who have watched his journey on TV. They said, "You've been part of the problem, and now you're trying to act like you don't understand why women feel the way they do." The whole situation has turned into a bigger discussion online about emotional labor, respect, and communication in marriages. Some women said Marsau's comments reflect the mindset of men who don't value their wives' growth outside of being a wife and mother. They said men like that only appreciate what women do when it benefits them but get defensive when women start wanting more for themselves. Other people tried to defend Marsau, saying that his words were being twisted and that he was just trying to make a point about accountability. They said that sometimes, both men and women need to own the choices they make in marriage instead of blaming each other. But the problem is, when Marsau added that "wives are jealous" line, it came off as dismissive and unnecessary. It took away from whatever valid point he might have had. And the more you look at it, the more it feels like Marsau might have been projecting some of his own feelings. Because at one point in his post, he said, "If having a career cost you your family and you chose the career, then you won. Don't complain. If being a mom cost you your dreams and you chose motherhood, then you won. Don't complain." But when you listen to that closely, it sounds like someone who has struggled with guilt over his own choices. People started saying, "This sounds like a man who's still trying to convince himself that giving up certain things for work or family was worth it." And that's probably why he took Aisha's comments so personally. Instead of seeing them as a woman expressing her truth, he saw it as a criticism of the kind of sacrifice he believes in. Now, of course, there's also the part where Marsau said, "If you want to be an apex predator, you can't have a lot of friends. You got to die to live forever." And people were like, "What?" That part confused a lot of folks. They said, "Marsau, what are you even talking about?" It's like he was trying to sound deep, but it came off dramatic. People started joking that Marsau must be going through something because he's talking about dying to live forever. Some said he should still be in therapy because it sounds like he's wrestling with guilt and pressure. And honestly, they might not be wrong. Marsau has said before that he deals with a lot as a husband, father, and businessman. Maybe these comments came from a place of frustration that's bigger than just Aisha Curry. Even so, when you're a public figure, you have to be careful how you say things. The words you choose matter, especially when you're talking about sensitive topics like marriage and identity. Marsau's tone, mixed with his history on the show, made it hard for people to take his comments as just innocent observations. They saw it as another example of him belittling women's experiences. And that's why people are still talking about it days later. Because at the heart of it, this isn't just about Marsau, it's about a bigger issue that so many relationships face. It's about how women are expected to sacrifice silently, while men get praised for doing the bare minimum. It's about how women are labeled jealous or ungrateful the moment they speak up about needing more than just a title. And what makes it even more ironic is that Marsau has admitted before that he struggles with communication. On Love and Marriage, Huntsville, we've seen him and Tisha go back and forth about how he talks to her, how he listens, and how he reacts. There have been moments where even the audience could see that he loves his wife, but his delivery ruins everything. And that's exactly what happened here. Instead of making a thoughtful point, he came off condescending. Instead of starting a real conversation about how both men and women sacrifice in marriage, he sparked another round of gender wars online. Because once that "wives are jealous" quote went viral, that's all people could focus on. Now, whether Marsau meant it as shade or as a genuine opinion, one thing's for sure, he's always going to say what's on his mind. And in a way, that's why people keep talking about him. He represents that old school, traditional mindset that still exists in a lot of households. The belief that men are the providers, women are the nurturers, and everyone should just accept their roles without question. But times have changed. Women are no longer okay with being silent or invisible in their own marriages. They want partnership, not just position. And that's why comments like Marsau's hit so hard, because they feel outdated in a world where women are finally demanding balance. At the end of the day, everyone sacrifices something in marriage. That's the truth. But feeling lost doesn't mean you're jealous. It means you're human. People grow, evolve, and change, and sometimes you outgrow the version of yourself that used to fit perfectly into someone else's world. That doesn't make you ungrateful, it makes you real. Maybe one day, Marsau will see that too. Until then, the internet will keep reminding him of it every time he decides to speak on women's feelings like he knows them better than women do. Because if we've learned anything about Marsau Scott, it's that he's never afraid to talk, but maybe this time, he should have just listened.